Hi, I'm Lisa Hayden with Focus on Washington County for Channel 6 TV. Today, my guest is Daniel Carney, the Springfield, Washington County Economic Development Director. Welcome, Daniel.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Daniel, for those in our county that aren't familiar with you, of course, you just took this position.
It's actually been it'll be 2 years in April. It's hard to believe, but I've been in this position for almost 2 years.
And prior to that, Hal Good was the Economic Development Director for many years.
Yeah.
And but maybe you can tell us a little bit first about what the Springfield, Washington County Economic Development position is.
Yeah, I'd be glad to do that. I think that question comes up a lot because there's so many things that are encompassed in economic development. Whether it's job creation, quality of life, tourism, everything. And basically, with economic development, you're just trying to, better the area that you're in. And so SWEDA has been around for probably almost 20 years. It started in the late 90s. City and county came together and decided they need a full-time office devoted to promoting Washington County and bringing in new industry and helping entrepreneurs and bringing in business and, like I say, just improving those quality of life things. So I've been here for 2 years. We look at it really as three major components. One being recruitment. So you're trying to recruit new businesses, new industry to the area. And number two, being retention. So, really important to keep the jobs that you have and keep the business and the industry that you have. So always trying to add value and work with existing business and industry to make sure that they have everything they need to thrive in Washington County. And then the last thing, which is really important right now, is workforce development. So, we're fortunate here to have a great education system through the public school system. And then, I tell people all the time, I don't think that you would probably find an area anywhere in the country with our population this small that's going to have 2 colleges right here. So we're very fortunate to have some good workforce development tools at our disposal for that.
Yeah. So what are you working on these days?
Well, we had a really positive 2014, and we're trying to carry that momentum on into 2015. Unemployment rates are at a 15-year low. They spiked in 2009 at around 13%. And in the past 6 years, we've gotten it down below 5%. And so, that's huge to show how Washington County's not just weathered the storm, but really came out of that recession roaring. And job creation's up. And so a lot of positives going on. Cabinet for Economic Development for the state of Kentucky did a study recently where they looked at jobs created per capita for 2014. Washington County ranked number 7, and Marion County was actually number 1. And so that's really a testament for what this region of central Kentucky. And those were the only 2 counties that were mentioned in central Kentucky, but all around us we've seen a lot of positive activity. And we always appreciate when they do those studies and use that per capita because it's one of the small guys. If we can create 100 jobs or so, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
For a small community like this. So like I say, we were number 7 for jobs created, so just trying to carry that momentum forward into 2015. A lot of that is through industry expansion. We're not seeing a lot of new industry coming in, but we're blessed with some really good, I guess I like to call them anchor companies. We have some really good local manufacturers that have really grown with Washington County and continue to do that. Did a lot of hiring in 2014, and we have a great small business base that they might be adding 2 or 3 jobs here and there, but those add up too. We've had some new businesses open up, some small businesses expand, so that's really important as well. So what you have whenever you've got a lot of job creation, your unemployment rates are down, it goes back to making the 2 components that I mentioned earlier, retention and workforce development, very important. We hope to and plan to continue to see growth through expansion. So now, through our office, our challenge is making sure that the skilled workforce is there for those jobs. So that's what we're doing right now, is working on a lot of workforce development projects. We have a great relationship with, like I said, the education system in the community. And another thing we're pushing forward with is the Work Ready Communities program.
Yeah.
And that's
tell everyone about
that's
that.
been a long process. You know, I think the goal of that process when the Kentucky Workforce Investment Board came out with that was that you know, organizations that maybe don't generally sit at the same table would come together. You know, they didn't want just a blanket stamp or certification that a county could get. They really wanted it to be a process where communities could come together and better themselves. So through that process, what that's done is brought our educational resources, our industry, local business owners, you know, elected officials, brought them all to the table, because everybody sees things from a different perspective. Everybody has different needs. So we've really used that process to kind of address those needs. They look at that. They have 6 criteria that they look at for a county to become a work-ready community. And when the criteria first came out and I first looked at them, I thought, you know, for a rural community like this, it was going to be tough. But actually, Washington County stacks up really well. I think we meet 5 of the 6 criteria, and the other one is on its way up. They look at things like graduation rate. Ours is well above where it needs to be. It's one of the tops in the state, I think. They look at educational attainment.
I think that's at...
It's almost 99%. Yeah, I mean, it's about as close as it can be to 100%. And where they want that to be is about 90%. So we're exceeding that by quite a bit. They look at educational attainment. So what they want to see is 25% or more of your population that has at least an associate's degree. So we're just above 25% in Washington County. I think that's a real testament to St. Catherine College, our Elizabethtown Community and Technical College, and then of course programs like Commander College, where our high school students are actually able to go and get an associate's degree before they graduate. So we're doing good on that number. They look at broadband availability. They want 90% access throughout the community, and we're actually above that 90%. It's taken some time, and some areas in the county still don't have excellent access, but they at least do have at least 3 megs per second or better, and I think that's getting better all the time. You know, equipment is getting better, and we're able to expand that equipment out into areas of the county so everyone has that broadband access, because that's so important now.
Right.
I mean, the internet's so important.
Right.
So
I didn't realize it was that high, so
yeah,
I'm glad
so, and
to
that's,
know that.
you know, that we've been looking at this for almost 2 years since I came on board, and that's steadily gotten better, and I think it continues to get better. We look at, you know, our population of adults that are lacking a GED or high school diploma. So we want to decline that by 3%, but the state average on that's 14% of the population, but in Washington County it's only 11%. So we're actually below the state average on people without a high school diploma or a GED. So that speaks volumes. We also look at the National Career Readiness Certificate, and that's a new test that it's actually been developed by ACT. And so, you know, where ACT might be a college readiness exam, the NCRC test is a career readiness exam. So they're trying to push that and get it in to where, you know, these industries can use that as an entrance exam, and it really can kind of tell the tale of how successful maybe someone's going to be when they get out into an industry, and it measures different soft skills and things like that. So that's the one area that we're lacking a little bit. They want you to be at about 9 or 10%. We are at around 2 or 3%, but that's just because it's a new test. You know, we're starting to give it to high school seniors. We've been doing some education sessions with different industries to figure out if it is something that they can use. So that's what we have to figure out. And that number's going up. You know.
And that testing is testing for their soft skills? It
tests soft skills. It tests, you know, it'll test a little bit of everything. You know, just your basic reading, writing, math. All of that stuff is encompassed in there. But you know, that, you know, responsibility, work ethic, things like that.
And that's what your soft skills are. Your
yeah, your hard skills are, you know, your engineering degree or your industrial maintenance degree. But your soft skills are your communication, how you work with others, your work ethic. And that's gotten really important. You know, when
punctuality,
we meet,
attendance.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Attendance and punctuality. So, you know, we're actually looking, working with the high school right now to maybe develop a work ethic or soft skills or work readiness seal for high school graduating seniors. So, you know, if you would consider factors like attendance, you know, and grades, but, you know, what they're doing in extracurriculars, communication skills, different things like that. So that's really important. You know, when we met, one of the first meetings we had and we sat down with the industry, we said, you know, what's lacking? And it's not just those skilled positions, your engineers and your industrial maintenance. technicians. It's actually, you know, those soft skills.
Yeah.
So that's something that we address, and this has given us an opportunity to do that. So we hope that career readiness certificate test will be another tool that we can use to measure that and maybe boost it up. So that's just another way that we're trying to use this process. But you know, with that being said, meeting 5 of those criteria, we at least qualify to be a work-ready community in progress. And I think if we can put a strong plan in place, we could go ahead and be a fully certified work-ready community. And hopefully that's something that we can do in 2015. It takes an entire community. You have to show that the entire community is engaged, but my office is actually the county lead on that. So that's something we'll be pushing heavily as we move to improve workforce development. Another new program that has just expanded is Kentucky FAME. That's the Federation of Advanced Manufacturing. They started that at Toyota in Georgetown, and it gives students and companies a real outlet. You know, the companies can create a pipeline to their workforce, and the students get to go to school and actually work 2 or 3 days a week in an industry, earn some money, and then come out of school, most likely no debt. They've already got experience, and they're already going to have a high-paying job. So that started in Georgetown, but now they branched that out regionally. We're going to be having a program starting in Elizabethtown, starting in the fall. In Washington County, students and industries are eligible to join that, and if that's successful, we could actually have a program here at our campus.
That'd be great.
So you know, like I say, it gives local companies a pipeline, and it's a great deal for students.
Yeah.
You know, to get that degree, get some experience, you're getting paid, and you don't have any debt when you get out of school. It's a pretty good deal. So pushing different programs like that, the state's done a great job of being really creative and getting things like that rolling out, as have our technical colleges, and so just trying to get behind some different stuff like that. I think you know, workforce development is going to be probably the biggest thing we need to work on in 2015. Workforce development and retention. Like I say, we've combated this recession and made unemployment rates go down through our existing companies. So we want to support those and continue that trend. You know, if one of our existing companies creates 50 jobs, it's just as good as 50 jobs from a new company.
Right, right.
So that's going to be the main thing, is supporting that existing industry, and also supporting entrepreneurs and small business. You know, that's the backbone of any small community. So
how do we help small business get started, Daniel? Are there tax incentives for those and various things? There's
a lot of resources out there from federal, state, and even down to the local level. You know, I know our Main Street program has done some revolving loan things that have really been beneficial to some small businesses that have started in the community, and the state has some really good incentives for people that are starting small businesses, and those are improving all the time. They're really trying to make it easier all the time for people to get into business. So I think what our role in that is just maybe knowing and compiling those resources and helping entrepreneurs walk through them. Sometimes it can be a little bit daunting when you sit down and you start talking about tax credits and different things like that. So we want to be able to sit down and tell them maybe what's available to them and connect them to the right people. I'll be meeting next week with a regional group in Barchtown about exporting. And exporting is something that a lot of small business owners probably think, well, it's not worth my time or it's too difficult. But we're going to actually have some local business owners on hand that have had success with it. And so it's just different aspects like that we can support them in different ways.
So you get like the State Office of Economic Development, because they have experts that I guess their whole job involves helping small business. I know before we talked with someone in Frankfort about that. So they could come down and I think you've had some workshops on that.
Yeah, we have. We bring them in all the time, and so anytime I meet with somebody and I think there's an opportunity for them to get some incentive, whether it's a tax credit, a grant, maybe even a low interest loan through the Small Business Administration, we'll pull various people in and actually bring them in and make it easy on the entrepreneur or the business owner that we'll have them meet right here. And just it's just a learning session. They're not required to sign up for anything. It doesn't cost them anything.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of resources, and new ones are coming out all the time, so it's an education thing that I have to stay up on, because I think that's one of my jobs here, is to know what's out there. That way, when someone is wanting to make an investment in the community, I can help them to know what resources are going to be available to them.
Yeah. Well, and you have a board you have to answer to, and that made up of city and county appointees.
Right.
And so I suppose that there are projects that they want you to work on as well. And
yeah, I have a 6-member board of directors, a very strong board, a lot of different backgrounds in there that they can really kind of help steer me in the right direction and look at things, from a different perspective. 3 members appointed by the city and 3 members by the county. So that's, we meet once a month and usually more often than that, just to talk about different things that are affecting the community, and we kind of have to prioritize what projects we need to push forward right now. And so, I think in the past, when unemployment rates were high and you saw some plant closures, the board was maybe focused on recruitment. How can we get some new activity and some new business? And I think now, back to what I said before, we're really focused on how can we add more value to our existing companies. What's our role in the workforce development pipeline to help these companies and to help local students.
Right.
I think we have an obligation to make sure our local students have every opportunity that other communities in the state are providing, and that they have an opportunity to live and work in Washington County. I mean, that's what we want to do.
That's our goal.
We want them to be here. I mean,
we want to keep
absolutely
our
and
people
I didn't
our
necessarily
young people. We're going to have, as they say, brain drain if we don't.
I didn't necessarily see myself coming back, but you get away and it's nice to be able to live and work in the community, and I think giving our students that opportunity is a big role that we have.
Yeah. So what is our the workforce? Do you have numbers on that, or?
We do, based on just the the unemployment numbers changing. I'm not exactly sure what those numbers would be, but it's if you looked at just what our available workforce would be right now, it's probably maybe around 500 people in the county. Basically, what they look at is a workforce area, so 30-mile radius. But I know just from speaking to some of our industries, we pull people from further than 30 miles, and of course we have people that live in the community that travel further than 30 miles to work as well.
Right.
So that's something that we are doing, is working regionally. Any issues we have are not singular to Washington County. They experience them in Nelson County, Marion, Boyle, wherever. I mean, even in other states. Some of our companies have plants in other states, and they have similar issues in other states. So we just want to make sure that we can combat them quicker and better here in Washington County. But yeah, just working regionally and making sure that we're all on the same page.
What do you see as barriers to keeping people here? I know that in talking with some of the industry before, that having engineers and some of those positions that are very technical, they can't necessarily find an engineer here. So they have to pull from other places.
Sure.
But, I mean, do we need to, I guess some of these people now that might be getting trained might go into the engineering field, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, those really high skill positions like engineers, it can be tough for a small community like this to attract them. On one hand, we have a lot to offer. I mean, if you're looking to raise a family, quality of life, I mean, I don't think you'll find anything better than what we have to offer. But if you're talking about a 24 or 25-year-old young person that's just gotten out of school, this may not be what they're looking for, to immediately move and come into an engineering career. And then, to recruit somebody that's older and been in the profession for a while, the wages get higher. And so there's certain challenges. But I think our companies have been pretty creative on how to combat those, whether it's through a bonus system or, getting creative with their recruitment efforts and setting up, sessions at different engineering schools and things like that, and really showing them what we have to offer.
Which is quality of life.
Absolutely.
Good schools, good community.
Sure.
What are some of the things that we don't have that you would? I know before people have mentioned to me housing, but I don't. I said, well, I see houses for sale.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a huge issue. Our rental property has really grown in probably the past 5 years, and I know a lot of those properties stay full a lot, but we have some nice rental properties in the area, and we have some nice houses. I mean, you can buy a lot more house somewhere like this than you can in Lexington or Louisville. And
exactly.
So, it's just making that kind of stuff known. A lot of times people don't think about that. I don't think people realize what we have to offer in things like adventure tourism. Hunting and canoeing, and we have, of course, we have the state park golf course here. So it's just communicating those things out. And what we would like to see is, whether it's a coming home program or something like that. We have so many bright individuals that are either students here now or have been students in the past that are going off and getting these advanced degrees. So the easiest people, you would think to be able to recruit to the area are people that know what we have to offer. So kind of providing some incentive to get them back. What
is that a program you're
you'll see, say, like a rural hospital that needs doctors. They have the same issue that we would have needing engineers. So what they would do is they would provide funding for that doctor's medical school. The doctor signs a contract to come back to the community and work for 5 years because of that funding. Well, you hope after that 5 years that they realize how great it is and that they want to stay. So I don't know if that type of approach would necessarily work, but you got to think about those kind of things.
Right.
What are we doing to attract these young people and whatever age? What are we doing to attract them back and make them stay here?
Right.
Because we don't, we're glad to have the people that commute in and work here, but we'd love to have them work here and live here and make their life here, raise their family here.
Right.
That's what it's all about. So we have to be creative. I mean, I think anybody in economic development will tell you they have to be creative, but when you're in a small rural community, I think it holds true even more. So we throw around ideas all the time. And
of course the cost of living, like you say, you can get a whole lot more house here than you can somewhere else.
It's much cheaper. Child care, everything.
Everything.
Comes into that,
yeah. So what about the average income here? How does that compare to other places?
It's comparable to communities across the state. Actually, it's going to be either right on the average or maybe higher than communities of our size. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's like I say, it's as far as when you look at those numbers, we're not behind in anything as far as what I can tell.
So people can get a decent job and support their family.
Right. I think so. Like I say, you might not get exactly the same pay as you would at, say, maybe at Toyota in Georgetown or a factory or business in Louisville or Lexington, but I think your cost of living is going to offset that and offset it pretty well, I think, because we're not far behind as far as what our starting wages are. And benefits have become really important. All of our industries offer great benefit packages, so I think we're competitive in that avenue. And they do wage and benefit studies where they look at the entire region and see how we stack up. So that's how we know, well, maybe we're having trouble because we're not paying what we should be. So that's constantly evaluated. So I think we do pretty well as far as being competitive on that standpoint.
Well, and now what about Kentucky and the governor getting the...
Right, yeah. Kentucky was, they made the announcement yesterday. Site Selection magazine out of Atlanta, which studies economic development all across the country. Every year they award a governor's cup to the state or states that achieved the highest success in economic development for that year. Kentucky was actually ranked number 6 nationally, but per capita we were number 1. It would be silly to compare our numbers directly to, say, Texas or California, but based on our population, Kentucky was number 1 last year for economic development activity. And that Our unemployment rates throughout the state directly reflect that. Just what I was talking about, Central Kentucky region. We've seen some of that success locally, so that's great news. Kentucky has an excellent business climate. They have a lot of good people that are always working. Like I talked about, incentives and things like that. They're always working to try to improve that. Just very positive news for Kentucky, and I think that momentum is going to carry forward.
And Governor Beshear got the...
He did get the Governor's Cup, and they listed the top 3 reasons that Kentucky had done so well in economic development, and one of those reasons was him alone. He's been very supportive throughout his tenure for economic development. Always, makes time for it, and he goes on a lot of trade missions. He's been all over the world, I think, to educate those in other countries about the business climate here. He's got great relationships, like I say, throughout the world to recruit that foreign direct investment into Kentucky and recruit investment at home. So.
Right. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share, Daniel?
I think that's it. I would invite anybody that's watching to contact me anytime. I think sometimes people maybe don't necessarily know what we do, but if you're a business owner, if you're in industry, if you're just somebody that's maybe looking for a job or wants to know more about the jobs that are here or the area, be glad to talk to you and help you in any way I can.
Well, great. How can they contact you?
You can reach me here at the Opera House, 859-336-0052 at extension 3, or you can get me on email. It's just daniel@sweda.org.
At sweda.org.
And we're on Facebook and Twitter as well, so you can find us on there. At Twitter, it's @SwedaKY, and then on Facebook, just look up Springfield, Washington County Economic Development.
Springfield, Washington County Economic Development, and so they can just walk into the Opera
Absolutely.
House to your office.
The door's open. Come in. That's right.
So, well, Daniel, thank you very much. It sounds like we're in good hands with you.
I hope so.
You're helping us move Springfield forward, and
that's the goal.
And bring people back home and create jobs. So, thank you, and create business. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.